we're here at Porsche Miami. We're gonna find out now whether they would sell us any parts for the Porsche, whether it's structural or just the regular service parts. Let's see if it is what people make out it to be. Let's go. After Adam Elzey's old Porsche GT3 was written off, I went and bought it.
Are you kidding? Is that for me?
In the last video, I started to strip the car apart to assess the damages and found that the pyro fuse, which is needed to start the car, was right at the back of the dashboard. Oh my God.
Look at it.
Look, it's just right.
It's just right there. Oh.
I want to cry. And not only that, I found structural damage. It's pulled it away from the front tub there. Before we made a trip to Florida, we called a bunch of dealers before to see if we could get parts.
For 992 GT3,
Yeah.
absolutely not. You're better off just selling whatever you can or trading in.
Which proven to be difficult, but now that we have a list of parts that we need, I've come down to Champion Porsche in Miami to see if they'll sell us any. Hello. So I've got a 992 GT3, it's been in an accident, and I'm going to need some parts.
And you're going through insurance, or you're going to pay for the parts out of pocket?
Out of pocket, yeah. I bought it crashed. We were going in with low expectations, as normally to buy a lot of parts you have to be a registered repairer, but things were looking good. So surprisingly, it's actually more help than we first thought, and we're doing all right. We were actually able to buy some parts, and they even had some in stock we could take that day. But what about the structural stuff? If we needed any like structural parts, like we're looking like we might need the front tub.
If you need, yes, if you need a structural part, the car needs to be at a Porsche
Accident repair
certified
center,
shop.
yeah, okay. So it's still bad news for getting the structural parts. But one thing I wanted to find out was if there was a better way of removing that pyro fuse.
I was the one that figured it out for the tech, and it took us like 2 weeks
Yeah,
to figure it out.
Well, that's what we was like.
Because even the Porsche schematics, all the instructions and everything, it tells you it's in one part. We took everything. They took everything apart there, not there. And I was like, hey, it's in the bottom of the dash. You're gonna have to take everything out.
That's literally what.
C unit, the whole nine.
Yeah,
It's right there on
and
the
then
floor. It's a pain in the ass.
It looks like we managed to figure out the pyro fuse quicker than some of the Porsche techs. Maybe I am getting better at this stuff. And we've even left with some parts that we need to rebuild the GT3. Would you go through all this stress for a car that you dreamt of owning? Time to get the dashboard back so we can begin putting it back in. E3 upholstery. Let's see what Matt's got up to. I'm sure he's pulled through, I'm sure. Only the other day we dropped off the broken dashboard to Matt at E3 Upholstery, and he's just dropped me a text to say that it's ready. Dad, you never would have known.
Nope.
Matt smashed it in literally like a day as well.
Yeah, so it was cracked. It was cracked in 2 places, but it's made to break a specific way.
Yeah.
So I just used a little bit of CA glue on each one of the parts that broke, so it'll break again, God forbid.
Yeah.
But, you know, if it does, it's not any less safe than it was.
So a huge shout out to E3 Upholstery and that amazing turnaround, which now means I can get back to the GT3 in the unit and start refitting the full interior along with that freshly trimmed dashboard. And I've also managed to get a second-hand passenger side airbag, or brand new second-hand. So now I can reassemble the dashboard along with the passenger side airbag, which leaves it just about ready to be installed. This is the final piece of the puzzle, which is stopping us from starting the Porsche after the airbags are blown, the pyro fuse. And who else but to fit it but somebody who is so well known for his hands-on mechanical ability than Tim Shmee from the UK, more Inception.
I'm not sure you've got that right, but I hopefully can manage to do this.
Do you know why I'm doing this as well? Because if that blows again or it doesn't start, I can completely blame it on you. Let's get this fitted into the absolute mess of a Porsche.
This doesn't feel normal.
So,
Right
here, there, that is where it goes.
Hold on, I got this. That goes on there.
That's it. And then that is the starter motor cable. Yeah, so that goes on to there. 2 of them will go on there. And there it is.
Do you know what? This is a first. I've done a lot of cool things with cars. I've never fitted a pyro fuse to a GT3.
There we go. Woo! Tim's done it. It's history in the making. Now multiple YouTubers are helping out rebuild Adam LZ's old GT3. And the cool thing, we actually managed to save a fair bit of money on the pyro fuse. We asked Porsche how much it would cost for a new pyro fuse.
Which one is $384?
384. And that is because they won't sell this thing separately. You have to buy this full fuse box with it. But if you check the part number on this thing, it's just a Volkswagen and Audi part, which is used on loads of Volkswagen and Audis across the world. And this, well, it was $18 off eBay. It's the little savings that are going to matter when rebuilding this GT3. But now's the time I've got to rebuild this interior. Time to reassemble the fuse box, which includes that almighty pyro fuse. Then the heater matrix with the blower box can go back into place, which sort of sits in position right behind the dashboard. Then I've got to go to the front of the car and connect the aircon lines to that heater box. The aircon pipes are connected with a bolt, and then the two coolant pipes for the heater blowers, the feed and the return ones, are connected with rubber hoses. I lubricated them up a bit just so they slid on a little bit easier. Now I've just got to remember where all of this went. Here we go. Now that the heater matrix is installed, I've got this aluminium frame to go back in, which the dashboard and everything else sits on. The hardest part about this is just remembering where all the wiring loom routed around this metal frame. Because if you get one thing wrong, you may have to take it all back out again to route the wire the correct way. And to bolt this aluminium frame in, there's a couple of bolts at the front and of course, that bolt on the outside, which Hannah found. Once I've bolted the aluminium frame in, I'm going to start building up the center console, which includes the armrest and a load of trims. And a lot of these trims are carbon as well, so I've got to be extra careful not to break any because I can't even imagine how expensive they would be. Then it's in with these Alcantara knee pads, which clip to the side of the center console. Then it's just a case of putting each trim in the correct order. And on this, I ended up having to take out some trim in order to put some trim in, because it only goes in one way. Okay, the center console is in. The next step is the dashboard, but I think I've got all the connectors and everything in the right place now. It's just a case of building it all back up, and I just hope that I've not forgot to plug anything in. Now it's time for the dashboard and the airbags. And if I'm honest, this should be the easy part. Now, a lot of you guys commented in the last video asking why I don't just ship the car back home to the UK and repair it there where it can get parts. Well, the cost of shipping, import duty, tax, and not to mention, I'll have a left-hand drive US spec car in the UK, just all outweighs the rebuild cost. So at the minute, it makes sense for me to rebuild it here, but when it's finished, that's a whole nother story. Now, whilst I'm putting in all the remaining trims, let me show you what I found when checking this out using Car Vertical. After I pop the VIN or registration into Car Vertical, this is what appeared. Car Vertical is immediately showing me that this car has been in an accident, even though that this car has a clean title. When I scroll through the report, I can see every time a title has been changed, and I can see the month that this car got damaged. As I scroll down, I can see the mileage, which is next to nothing, 2,500 miles. And right here is the damage records. And whoever buys this car will always be able to see this regardless of what country this car gets sold in. Not only that, on some checks where the car's been damaged, like this one on his Porsche Panamera, you can actually see the photos of when the car was auctioned off at the car crash auction website, so we can see the exact damage that it had. So to see if your car or a car that you're potentially about to buy has had some dodgy history, click the link in the description box below and use code Matt to get a nice bit of discount. Cheers, Car Vertical. Right, I've just called Matt over because I'm on the final pieces right now, and if you're new to the channel, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. But the old subscribers or the OG subscribers would know that when we fit a dashboard, we have a little game. If you have 10 bolts left over, that means you've got a, well, it's a 0 out of 10. If you've got 9 bolts left over, you have a 1 out of 10, because I find it virtually impossible to fit a dashboard, the amount of bolts that it takes, and not have any bolts left over. But I genuinely think I could have done the perfect 10 out of 10 fitment. These were the bolts for the dashboard in here. They use all the same bolts. And I have, how many left? 1, 2, 4 bolts left over. 2 of which are going to hold this trim in. 1's going to go there. Okay, we might have 1 left over. No. We'll see in a minute. I've done it. There is. No one's going to believe me. Matt, witness it. I did actually. I've got 2 bolts left over, and I'm pretty sure there's 2 bolts at the bottom of this glove box. Yes, sir! I've smashed it. There's 2 bolts left to go in, and we'll connect the battery, and we'll confirm whether I've smashed it or not in the next clip. Oh my God, I cannot tell you how satisfying that actually is. I hope you're feeling the same satisfaction as me right now. And it's going to be even more satisfying if all the dash all lights up and everything all lights up in the correct way, not like a Christmas tree way, but the correct way. Now there's a few things that we are missing and which we couldn't get. Driver side knee airbag and steering wheel airbag, along with as well the wiring harness for the steering wheel airbag, because when this detonated, it created so much heat that it's actually melted the connections to the airbag. So we need that and the driver side knee airbag. But other than that, those can go in. Also, we're missing the curtain airbags and of course the seat belts, which means we're not going to be able to put all this in yet, and the roll cage or anything like that. But I'm happy enough with the dashboard because I wanted to get that in as soon as possible because I've got short-term memory loss. So Jack took out the battery, so I was just about to tell him it's his responsibility to put back in. But we're just going to drop it in without putting all the tray on and everything, because you'll find out later in the video why we have to strip all of this apart. So we're just going to drop this in and see if the dashboard all lights up okay.
This is either the airbags below and we did not. Let's see, hold on. No, we're good.
Okay,
is there noise?
Let there be light, and there was light.
All right, dude.
Okay, something made a noise.
Wait, hold on. There's lights on both sides. Did you notice that?
What?
Look.
Yes! What the hell?
New lens.
Yeah.
It's good.
So a new dashboard fixed the headlight.
That's what it was. It can drive now.
Science,
Yeah.
Science. Shall I start it?
Yeah, make sure it's not in gear.
Yeah. Okay. No seats are in. We're in neutral. Oh God, I really hope this works.
Jack, try to put your hands in your ears.
Clutch down.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
So far everything's lighting up in here, which is good.
Uh-huh.
I'm just gonna go for it.
Yeah. Oh! Yes! Yes! Hell yeah, dude.
Okay, come on. Wow.
You did it! You did it, man!
Yes. Thank God. Okay, there's a lot of lights on the dash, but
All of them, yeah.
all of the lights. Right, low beam error.
Dude. Hell yeah.
Yes, it starts with the key and not pushing it down the unit.
Oh my goodness.
The relief. Yeah.
That was almost too easy, you know?
No.
All you had to do was take the entire interior apart, and there you go.
Oh, I feel happy now.
Good.
I feel happy now. It started of its own accord.
Wonderful. Now you just drive it off. Just go. You're good.
Yeah. About that. The dashboard was in, but we're a long way from fixing this Porsche. Now I can throw my attention to the actual damage. So originally we thought that we might have just got away with some suspension damage on this, but it turns out it's a little bit more sinister than that. We now know that this thing has damaged the front tub. So in order to kind of work out what's next, I've just got to strip all this apart so we can take a better look at it, and then we can really go from there. The front wing is completely crumpled, so I'm going to start taking that off first. And surprise, surprise, Porsche have put a bolt which is impossible to get to unless you remove the bonnet hinges. So we'll come back to that in a minute. I'm just going to remove all the bolts on the inner side of the wing first, which are fairly easy to get to. Then remove the filler cap and then me and Jack are going to remove the bonnet along with the hinges as well. And this bonnet is carbon fiber. It's around $10,000 worth of bonnet, so I'm going to be careful with it. And now that I've got the wing off, I can take the headlight out and start dismantling the front suspension. Well, what's left of the front suspension. I'm not sure why we're being so careful with that front disc. There's no way we can use it again. And finally, I can lift the majority of the suspension off. Now, I wasn't expecting it to get any better, but also I wasn't expecting it to get worse, and it has. And that's why we're in our happy shirts. Even Matt's wearing a happy shirt. Matt, let me...
Happy Florida shirt.
Come down here. So... it's taken more of the frame here, so it looks like the wheels hit, and what we can see, I don't know if you can see that, Matt, it's like bulged out here, so like part of the frame is bulged out, and the door, does it catch it? Does the door catch that? No, but it's close. It looks like not only have we got to be moving on to the front tub where the bolt's pulled out, and a few of you have mentioned, why don't I just patch that up? If it was somewhere else, like this hole here, then we could, but because a bolt actually goes in here and the suspension arm sits on that, and it's a GT3 and we're going around a corner, if you want to risk that bolt being pulled out again, it's not the most ideal situation to have. But then this thing is going into the territory of unknown, really, so I'm gonna have to figure out what parts build this section up, and I guess all of us as a team are going to have to build it in our happy shirts. Freddie's missing a happy shirt.
Every shirt I wear is a happy shirt.
The key to rebuilding a car like this is to stay positive. We can't let these small things get us down, else we'll never be able to rebuild it. Here's the rest of the suspension. This was the front strut, which is no longer anymore. As it looks like we're going to have to replace the whole front tub, I've got to make sure I can expose it so we can drill out all the rivets on it, which means taking off everything that's attached to the front tub, including the front cooler, all the locking mechanism for the bonnet, the arch liners, the washer bottle, the headlights, and the rad pack on that side as well. And we almost have an exposed front tub. I've just got to take off the rest of the driver's side suspension without breaking anything. And as the front subframe is also damaged, I might as well take off the front subframe with all that suspension attached to it. So I'm getting the car in the air, removing the under tray, and dismantling any parts of the suspension which is attached to the chassis of the car, including the steering rack, which I can just get to here. There's one bolt holding the steering rack to the steering column. I've just got to loosen this bolt off and I can slide the steering column out of the steering rack. Brake line's disconnected, steering rack's disconnected. There's a few coolant lines underneath. I've just left it hanging with a few bolts, so I think we're ready to go down. Okay. Here, I just need to access it. We now worked as a team to loosen the last few bolts on the front suspension and guide it down with the jacks.
1, 2, 3, YouTube!
Okay, the subframe is down and off, and quite clearly there's damage to this part right here. Whether this is classed as structure or not, we don't know. I don't think so, because it's a bolt on, bolt off part, and whether we can get this ordered just the front bit separate to the back, that would be more ideal, because I know I could probably get this from the UK, and that definitely looks like it would fit in my suitcase. So we've got a clear vision now of where the damage is on this front tub, and you can see the sort of tunnel of where the bolt for the trailing arm goes in, and there's a clear hole there, which means we're gonna have to replace all of this tub, and none of this is welded in. This is all used by bonding and rivets as well. And you can have a look inside there. There's the hole which goes out. I don't know how we're going to get this part. We could probably ship it from the UK. We know they would sell us structural parts. Florida Porsche are definitely not going to sell us this, and they're definitely not going to sell us this A-pillar. So, plan of action. We're going to fly back to the UK now and get as many parts as possible and do some part smuggling. And you can grab yourself some parts as well, because we're going to be smuggling these bits back, and the next 100 orders on the shop to order any t-shirt or hoodie will be getting part of the paint to sample 992 GT3. We are well and truly saving the manual. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button, and I guess I'll see you in the next episode.
I got you. Paint to sample zip ties.
Boom! There it is. Is that doing anything?
Like a drug that I just can't deny.